Okay, thanks very much to all of you for participating in this afternoon session. And it's absolutely wonderful to see such a great, diverse range of people from young to old, and then back down to young, and to obviously diverse as well. There is a microphone there, so whoever picks it up goes first. Tom, pick up the microphone. Tom, just going to give some open questions. Begin.
Hello.
Yeah, and the open questions will be to all of you, okay? Won't be to individually. So if you just give us your name and tell us where you're from, Tom, and what got you involved in Liberal Democrats.
Hi, my name's Tom Holmes here, so I'm based in Stratford-on-Avon. So I first properly got involved with the party getting Helen elected. I was somewhat of an invested Liberal before that. My friends took the mick out of me and they bought me a Joe Swinson face mask for Christmas. So, yeah, I got called a simp. So since then I've sort of got straight into it. There was an opportunity to run for a county council by-election, an area that we've never done anything really in. 74% Conservative voting in the election before, so I thought I'd take on the challenge, and we've made quite a difference. And unfortunately, we didn't win, but there's 2 district council wards within that we're working to winning.
And remind us your age, Tom.
19.
Amazing. How amazing is that? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Tom. If we pass that, I am conscious of time. I don't want to promise to open the floor. I know that I promised it last time, and it didn't happen. So I don't want to promise again, just in case we're out of time, because we've got a great TED Talk afterwards. Nukey.
So hi, Nukey Proctor, based in Coventry, so just down the road from here. And I got involved in politics actually out of university, but was a fairly kind of passive armchair member effectively for many, many years. And then I moved to Coventry and stood in the local council elections, and then I've stood at the general election. And kind of at the start, kind of the first year of the pandemic, I wanted to find out much more about the kind of context and background of running local services, and so I was co-opted onto my local parish council. I've been a local parish councillor now for just coming up to effectively about 3 years. Thank you. I think it's been really eye-opening, and a really interesting exploration, let's say, of the real way in which decisions are made and the real impact that local people have on what happens around them. And I think parish councils can be very overlooked sometimes in terms of how impactful they are on the local area.
Very true. Well done, Nukey. Thank you. Thank you. And Adeyemo.
Hello, my name's Adeyemo. I'm a councillor in Lyndon ward in Solihull. Talking about how you first got involved in politics, I think those of you who know me know I talk a lot, and I opened my big mouth. I had this little blonde lady, you might have seen her at the beginning of the event, came and knocked on my door. I mean, Solihull in those days was a ultra-Tory area. It was so Tory, we didn't even know who our MP was, because he didn't do anything. I didn't know who he was. And this lady knocked on my door and said, I am standing for Solihull. I'd like to, knock out the guy. And I said, well, you're the first person I've ever seen, ever, or even heard from. So I voted for her. And then, a few months later, it was a horrible rainy day. This little blonde lady comes walking up my driveway, and I saw her from the front window. And I was like, I thought you just got elected, Laurelie. Why are you delivering leaflets? Now, that was my big downfall. Because I then got the full sort of, volunteers, and we need people to help. And if you can just do your street for me. I used to live on Warwick Road in Solihull. Now, that was a bad move for starters. It will only be an hour every couple of months, We all know how true that is as well. Anyway, I said yes, and before I knew it, I was doing that. I was getting involved. I was local party secretary. I was local party chair throughout sort of probably half of Laurelie's term. So, you know, that's how I really got involved, got elected, moved from Solihull to Lyndon, got elected in Lyndon. I lost my seat after the lockdown where we were not allowed to campaign, and the Tories took advantage of that. So we made sure last year that we really went for them. Absolutely. And we beat them by the highest ever margin. Absolutely. In my ward.
Absolutely, well done. Thank you. And finally, down the end of the list.
Last but not least. So I'm Kaleem Askar. I am a district councillor and town councillor for the Link ward on Malvern Hills District Council and Malvern Town Council. So I was, where do I start? I remember Clegmania in 2010 and thinking, oh, I like that man. I'm some sort of Lib Dem. And then the coalition happened. It was unfashionable to be Lib Dem then. And then my uncle, who was also a Lib Dem, said to me, Kaleem, I know you're sort of Lib Dem inclined. You kind of need to join the party now, otherwise it's going to die, potentially. So I said, OK, I'll join the Lib Dems, post-2015. I remember thinking at the time, oh, well, you know, got this EU referendum coming up. Oh, I'll get involved in that. It'd be nice to win that referendum, won't it? So I joined and our local party is West Worcestershire. We had a local government base, but there actually wasn't a lot of activity, and you know, so a year goes by, not a lot really happening in the local party. We come to the referendum, it's all gone, and I say, no, this is a moment where I need to get involved and actually make a change in the local party, because there wasn't anything going on, really. New people were moving into the constituency who had previous experience being Lib Dems, so we formed a new team, and stood first time for local election in 2017, sort of half tried, and then 2019, at the age of 21, I got elected.
Well done. Give him a round of applause. Well done. Well done, Kaleem. And we're going to stay on you because I think it's amazing how you have socks called Greg's.
Yes.
Which is from the famous bakery shop.
Yes.
And can I just say, what a cool councillor.
No, you don't know, but no, I'm not that at all.
What would you say, staying on yourself, Kaleem, what key advice would you give folks in your area if they would ever want to become a parish councillor?
I mean, parish councils in particular is, if you want to put the effort in, you'll get in. We've made a concerted effort in the last year. So on district in 2019, we didn't really, because the town council elected at the same time as the districts and town were at the same time. We didn't put a lot of effort into the town council. And what we've spent the rest of the last few years is actually picking up our effort and using the parish council, the town council, as a staging board for the rest of our campaigning activities. So if you look at some of our by-election results for Malvern Town Council in the last few years, we've won them with 75%, 80%, 80%, silly large margins. Because basically, we've found people, we've had the intelligence because of what's going on the councils now. We give candidates the lowdown, we give a good message, we go out there, throw everything at it, and we win it by a stupid large margin. Yeah. So it's good fun on that front. For districts, it's a bit more of a challenge because actually the parties try a bit harder. I mean, try is a relative thing in Malvern. Our Tories are a complete joke organisationally. Malvern, so on the district level, the Tories exist, but they aren't actually that big of a challenge. The council is run by a coalition of 3 different groups of independents and the Greens, and formerly us, but that's a long story. So it's a mess. But what you need to do is, for a parish level, just try and find that vacancy, see what's going on, pay attention to your parish notice boards, see what the issues are, and get in and see how you can feed in on it. District, it's a bit more of a snake's nest.
which we will come back to. We'll stick on parish council. If we take the mic to Nukey. Nukey, sorry, I've had researchers do all the notes for me. Nukey, just tell us a bit about your background from when you were younger, because I know you talked about, as a child you used to volunteer and whatnot. Just want to, yeah, sure you got my question.
So anybody who's familiar with the Nigerian culture may be aware that we can be quite feisty, and we.
Who said that? Who said that? Oh.
And we always up for a debate, always up for some passionate discussion. So my household was always very, very politically opinionated, and I come from a culture of sitting around a dining room table and debating and arguing, and really getting into the meat of that tussle. And kind of parallel to that, also a background that was very orientated around, if you don't like something, go and do something about it. And I think that kind of fusing of those two together really gets you interested in politics, in my opinion, because it's very much about having opinion and being motivated and being passionate about something. Absolutely. To such an extent that you then feel motivated to go and do something about it. And I think that for me, very much those were the seeds of trying to find out more about what's happening with my local party, trying to do more at the local level. And then actually, as I've become more politically aware of kind of learning from adulthood, because let's be honest, political education below high school age in this country is a bit of a joke. And there's a lot that you actually only find out about our political system as you grow older and if you have the opportunity to. And then effectively realising that you have these different levels of government and that you have these different levels of kind of democratic action, and depending on what you want to change, whether it's legislation and then you target at the MP level or the Lords, or whether it's your local bins, understanding how that machinery works then means that you can try to align yourself with where you think you have the most impact.
But your family must be very proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. My mum calls me, Madam Councillor, which I find absolutely hilarious.
I bet she's telling everyone back home in Nigeria you're the Prime Minister.
Yeah, exactly.
Nukey's my Prime Minister. What advice would you give to people thinking about standing?
There is I'll keep this one short and sweet. Everybody always thinks of not someone like me, like the type of person who runs for this or stands for that or gets elected. Not someone like me, and that's not.
There's someone leaving. Oh. You should have went the back way, not the front way, the back way.
And it is someone like you, and it takes people like you. So all I would say is, don't think it's not for me. It's not. I'm not that kind of person. Everybody in the room would probably make an amazing difference if they were willing to stand. Absolutely. Thank you, Nukey. Thank you. Give her a round of applause, everyone. If you pass the microphone to Adey. Now, we did a lot of research, and we told everyone if you could just send something. But when it came to Adey, you must have sent so many documents that it was about this big. And the other night, I was having cocoa. Let me go to sleep. Oh, someone's turned my... Oh, can you hear me? I thought someone turned me off then. Someone cancelled me. And I was reading Adey's stuff. Adey, just tell me, I know, but these guys don't know. How many roles have you had in your time as a councillor?
I've had a lot of roles, including in the Lib Dems. I've been starting in the local party. I've been just an activist, deliverer. I've been candidates several times. I've stood in 2 different wards in Solihull. I've stood for Parliament in Meriden. Oh, wow. Once, twice in Solihull. Oh, wow. I was number 2 to Phil Bennion in the European elections. Oh, wow. And if not for the Greens attacking us at the last minute, I probably would have been an MEP, which would have been interesting to have to give up your job for another job that was going to end in 3 months. But I've been on the regional exec. several years. Oh God, what have I done nationally? I'm on the ALDC executive, so I shall see many of you at Kickstart next week. I'm on the, I'm still, till the end of the year, chair of the Racial Diversity Campaign.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm on the Federal People and Development Committee because of that. So
What
you can so those of you who know that I'm stepping back a little bit can understand why.
What would you say out of all those roles have been your favourite role?
I think my favourite role is still being a councillor. Absolutely, because you make an immediate difference to people. And I was saying to somebody the other day that when I go and speak to council staff on your behalf, I'm not asking any different question to what you ask, but I know that they cannot ignore me and they have to give me a good answer. And if they don't give me a good answer, I'll go to the chief executive and who will give them a bollocking, quite frankly. So you can get things done. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realise. You can get things done by being a councillor that most people cannot do. It shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately that's the way things are.
Absolutely. And also as well, I must give personal thanks, because me and you, we look the same, and you inspire me very, very much. You know, and I've worked with you over the last few years with the racial campaign, and I thank you for that, Addy, because you give a lot of us advice who look like us, and you pretty much steer us in the in the great direction. So I really do thank you for that work. Now you said no, don't pass the mic. You said to me downstairs, make sure I don't bully you or have a go at you.
That's okay.
You lost your seat in 2021. That must have just, after so many years, you know, that must have just knocked you.
It did, because anybody who knows what it's like in Solihull is that you're always pushing against the tide. It's even in the wards where we hold seats, we have to work so hard. And the people get to know that you're the one who's always working. You're the only one they ever see. You're the ones who do everything. And when we lost that, there was a feeling of, rejection. It's that, how could the bastards not vote for me after all I've done for them? And there's a very personal feeling that if I do all this work and I don't get elected, do I just leave them to it? Why do I bother? But then, within about a month of feeling sorry for myself and seeing my colleague Catherine, because Catherine and I are a, double team, we're very good at different things. Catherine is, God, she's amazing. And so is Michael Carthew as well, by the way. But I bring this sort of old head. I bring the politician's head. I bring this sort of... and when you start seeing them going out again, trying to struggle along without you, it's like, I can't not be involved again. And I think that's one of the best decisions I made, is to stand again. And this time, people who didn't vote for us, who then thought, bloody hell, what have we done?
But how did you keep that determination? Because obviously, sometimes when people lose, when people fail, they think that that's the end. How did you pick yourself up and, return and try and win again?
I think it was difficult, but the one thing I knew, or the one thing I've always known, is that there is no way that the Conservatives in Solihull, and Labour, who always want to take a few of our votes, can do any more work than we do. They can come along and bring out their leaflets at the last minute, and they can pay people to do the work. But ultimately, they will not knock on any more doors than I can. They will not. I mean, we've been knocking on doors since June, since I won the election. I had a month to feel sorry for myself. They cannot knock on more doors than we can. They cannot deliver more leaflets. They cannot write more letters. They cannot do more casework. And the one thing I will say is that the more you do, and people realise that you are their champion. And people now, I mean, one of the great things that's happening recently is that we're getting cars beeping at us when we're door knocking, is that people just think, don't you lot ever rest? You're always out. And we're like, yeah, that's what we do. But we put that message into their heads so that when the Conservative guy comes and knocks on their door, they are then repeating our messages to the Conservatives. That's how you know that you've had real success. Which
is local, visible and hands-on. And I notice the bastards, not the voters, the Labour and the Conservative, they're stealing our motto. They're actually stealing it. I know they've stolen it in Solihull and
When you see leaflets that say, you know, working hard all year round and not just election time, coming from the Tories, you know that, you know, the thieving bastards are at it again.
I just wanted you to say bastard. Can we pass it to Tom? Pass it to Tom. Pass it to Tom. Tom, it's nice to see young people getting involved. And we all were young at one period. Well, we were. I noticed that Mr. Paul Tilsley's just arrived, and you know, he's been a councillor since the 60s, and he's still going strong in Sheldon. So it's lovely to see you, Paul. What advice would you give to other young people your age to get them more involved in politics, to trust more within politics, and to actually stand as a politician locally or nationally?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people my age don't necessarily see how politics affects their lives. And I think that has been very deliberate from our education system to be made to do that. I mean, yeah, when you look at like young people are one of the most underrepresented groups in politics. You know, we don't have the voice that we necessarily deserve. I know I was pleasantly surprised in the by-election. I thought, I'm only 19. Are people going to take me seriously? But a lot of people are really happy to see a fresh face. You know, because it's been conservative for generations, and they were quite happy to see a change. And I think people want the fresh ideas that young people have to bring to the table. So I think, yeah, definitely get out there, get your voice heard.
No, absolutely, and also as well, it's the seriousness as well. You know, because has this gone? Is it? Yeah. So, what I found when I was, it keeps disappearing. What I found when I was campaigning, so I recently stood in last May's election in Birmingham with the wonderful councillor Izzy Knowles, who's in the audience on her phone. She's probably tweeting. That when I spoke to young people on the doorstep, didn't have no faith in politicians whatsoever. Did not have no faith. And I know I was told the 2-minute rule on the doorstep. I sort of abandoned the 2-minute rule and said, what do you want? You know, what is it you want from us? You know, what do you want for the future? You know what I mean? So, you know, giving that encouragement and confidence that, yes, you might not have faith in your local councillor, but you yourself can make a difference by either standing or getting involved or voting for me. You know what I mean? So I totally understand where you come from. What would you say has been, I know you're so young, what would you say has been one of the great highlights of campaigning in your area, would you say?
I'd say, and I think this is very, very unique to the Lib Dems, is just the massive amount of support that I got in the by-election. I know so to the north of the division is Tamworth and Arden. You know, we were expecting that we just wouldn't have the capacity to be able to cover it, but we had such amazing support from people across Birmingham. You know, people coming from all over to help out, and that was, you know, the real sense of community that the Lib Dems have.
Being a family.
Exactly, yeah. It is a family. And I think, yeah, after running, I've well and truly addicted, and I do not think I'll be giving it up anytime soon. So,
give them a round of applause. And, you know, all I can say is best of luck and to keep still going. I'm going to ask a question for all of you. I could see Jennifer was moving, so I keep an eye on my clock. We've got Sunny at 10 to 2. What message... what key message can you give to your ward or your constituency area? And that's up to all of us, to get the Lib Dem message out.
Well, I mean, one of the main issues that we've got in Stratford is just local services. And yeah, there's just, it isn't the infrastructure for schools, roads, houses. Yeah, because my ward's quite a big ward. You know, you've got Ulster Town, you've got the incredibly rural bits in the villages where I live. So it's trying to bring all that together. So no, it will be a challenge, but...
And also, well, you've got a famous MP, haven't you?
infamous or famous, which,
I really hope he loses his seat.
well, yeah,
Just,
hopefully.
and I really hope that
Come
the
on, Manuela.
voters actually see. You know, who's that? I don't know who that is. Who is it? Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Woo! I'll come and help you. Right, let's pass the mic down. Nukey, Lib Dem message you can get out there to your ward, your...
Yeah, I think coming from Coventry, actually, the big one for us is just don't let that apathy get you. Like, it's so, politics can be so depressing at the moment, and it's very, what they want you to do is to think it can't be different. Nothing can change, there's no point, and don't let them fool you. I think the country's ready for a massive change in the way that our politics and our government and our country is run. So I just say keep the faith that it can be different.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you become a minister and then you exit your role, do not go on a jungle programme. Because you might be eating kangaroo.
Hopefully he'll be exiting his role even more swiftly, having...
yeah. Hello, Addy. What would you say as a Lib Dem message in your area or nationwide?
I think the most important thing for Lib Dems is to be the local champion. Be the person that everybody thinks about when they have any issues, when they don't have any issues. Be the one that they always say, oh yeah, you're the Lib Dem man. I can't remember your name. But we know it's you. We know it's you who's always coming to our door, you know, knocking on doors, and you speak to Tories, diehard Tories. They've told us for the last 10 years they were Tories. I still knock on their door. And actually they have this grudging respect for you that, you know, our guy doesn't come to the door. You're the one we always see. Actually, I will lend you my vote this time. And they keep lending us our vote year after year. And that's how we win.
Thank you, Roger. Kaleem?
Yeah, it's about listening to your residents, and as the common theme here is working all year round for your ward. That's the real difference that gets made. But also on the council is taking a different perspective on things. Being from a different background, you can offer a different perspective on how policies are made, how you know, what priorities we're giving as a council, and going, well, you've done it for this way for this many years. Why?
Yeah.
And that's the common question I have to ask on the council is, you say that you're, you know, this line in this policy that you're making me vote on, why is that? 9 times out of 10, it's, oh, well, it's just there. And it's having that critical engagement with it from a different perspective, which is the real difference. On the one hand, on the council, but then in my ward, it's about sticking up for residents, giving them a voice, and actually earning, you know, their trust, unlike oftentimes what the other major parties do, which is just rely on people's voting habits. It's actually earning their support.
Absolutely, yeah.
And being there to challenge the establishment. You know, I always think that, you know, because we talk about populism and often easy, you know, it's often negatively associated, but actually there's a form of populism which is community politics. It's to say, we are here to represent our community, put it first, earn that respect, earn that trust, and put you first.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
No, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a round of applause. I can see Jennifer's coming. Can I just ask one more?
We have got time for questions.
Oh, we have got time for questions.
It's 2 o'clock with this one, so we've got...
Oh.
Yeah. So now
There's
it's
me rushing them on. Can I just ask a question? And it's from a friend of mine who came to the first session and couldn't answer. Your role as a councillor, you know, as you just said, working all year round. Most of the time you're working all day. How do you find that time to balance, switch off, switch back on, and actually, you know, remember yourselves? And if you just do it as briefly as we can so we can open the room.
I don't.
That's okay, it's an honest answer.
With difficulty. I think what you have to do is maybe say, give yourself time to do certain things and actually plan a little bit. Say, you get up in the morning, you know, you might answer a few LibDem emails and you switch it off. You do your day job that actually pays your salary. And then maybe in the evening you might do an hour. It gets to 8 o'clock, put your phone away, ignore all the WhatsApps. They will still be there in the morning and you can still deal with them. You know, nothing is happening today as a councillor that you cannot deal with tomorrow.
Thank you. Nukey?
Depressingly, we're back to I don't. So,
Yeah, I do quite like keeping myself busy because I'm a parish councillor. I'm doing a physics degree at the moment, so I don't help myself. And then yeah, balancing that, but you know, it's always dedicating time to switch off and do the things you enjoy, which most often is delivering leaflets. So in which case, there is no switching off.
Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, so I believe.